Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon. Before I start, let me thank all of you for taking this time out to have this conversation. It's a very interesting topic that we'll be discussing today. My name is Saurabh Chandra. A little bit of my background, I have approximately a couple of decades of experience, have worked with multiple organizations, namely Oracle, CA, JP Morgan Chase, Flipkart, Myntra, Jabong, Amazon, had my own company, have been author of few technology and business books, a few patents, few research papers, have been on board of few companies, and I happen to be a columnist in few of leading national newspapers. Besides that, one of the things that is core to my heart is I am a visiting faculty to few of the important business schools and the technical colleges in India and abroad. So it's an immense opportunity for me to interact with all of you today. So before I kick it off, firstly, thanks to all of you who could take their valuable time out for this engaging conversation. And when we go through the slides, one thumb of rule that we may want to keep is I am seeing your chat. Unfortunately, you will not be able to talk to me directly, but if you have questions, please do put it in the chat, and I'll try to see how to answer those either during the session or maybe at the end of the session. So that's what the rule of the game would be. So if that sounds like a plan, give me a thumbs up on the chat and then we will get moving. Okay, awesome. So seems that there is a question that will we be getting the certificate? I think yes, you will be getting the certificate, but my advice would be let's take the learning together. If learning is there, certificate will be of better value. So on that note, let me just share the context as what the topic for today is. As we all know, this is not a very easy time for individual or businesses. It's one of the rare occasions on planet Earth wherein we have witnessed almost a complete planet lockdown because of current crisis. It's one of the pandemics which is rare, and therefore it has made many of our lives a little bit difficult, or maybe for many, they see the crisis as an opportunity. So with that note, our topic for today is impact of pandemic on entrepreneurship in India, key to surviving the crisis. So for entrepreneurs, this will be very relevant. In fact, the people who are not entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs, I think there will be a takeaway for them as well. However, if you aspire to be in a company and aspire to grow in a leadership position, this topic still is applicable to you. So we have three set of audiences. One is entrepreneurs, second is wannabe entrepreneurs, third is working professional who want to grow and change the way things work today to make it more future ready. So that's the takeaway. If we have that crowd, I think you will enjoy as what we'll be discussing. Sounds like a plan. Give me a thumbs up. Who all are entrepreneurs here? Can you guys give me a thumbs up? Entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs? Okay, budding one already started. Teja Patel says I am. Ashwini, Swati, Kashif. Okay, awesome. So we have quite a few, and that's amazing to see that we have many such people who still see this time to be great to exploit as an opportunity. Awesome. How many of you, can you give me a thumbs up? How many of you are working professionals? Okay, we have freelancers, we have academicians. Okay, great. So I think we have a very interesting cohort. We have students, we have my fellow professors, we have entrepreneurs, we have wannabe entrepreneurs, and we have freelancers, and we have working professionals. So it's an amazing mix, and I feel privileged to be talking to all of you today. Let's kick it off. And before I kick it off, I just want to bring your attention. This is very relevant in today's time. And it says that yesterday I was clever, so I changed the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. And this is very relevant in today's time. Unfortunately, what has worked before may or may not work today. And what would work in future, it certainly would require some level of learning, grooming, reflecting back. So that's where this phrase comes handy to all of us. If any of you are trying to do something which had made you successful in the past, uh, please be cautious and do reflect back and see if that is still applicable. And if not, then we would know as how to dive deep, how to understand, where to look at the basics. So at this hour, when lots of businesses are going through lots of churn, so let's see few of the businesses. Let's take some real examples. So for manufacturing industries, there is a very different uh, outcome due to the lockdown. So machines are stopped, real estate costs they had to bear, the capex and opex cost they had to bear, which is capital expenditure and operational cost. Now, without any sales. And what it means that by the principle of economics, supply and demand curve has come to a skewness, which means that though there is a demand, but unfortunately, because of current situation, there is not a possibility of supply. And when the supply chain will start, then because of crunch of liquidity in the market, we don't know what the demand would be. So it's a very interesting situation that we all are caught into. And unfortunately, already the economy globally was going through certain pressure. As you know, before the current COVID pandemic, the automobile sector was not doing too good. And there was lots of liquidity pressure that was into that domain. There were lots of NPAs, non-performing assets of the banks getting consolidated before COVID came in, and that was leading towards the skewness in supply and demand curve, leading towards the pressure in liquidity in the market. However, that curve was relatively slow, but then currently it has just become spiral. So if you reflect back, the whole economy, consumerism, the demand and supply curve, the financial backbone, everything has come into scanner. So when all these things have come into scanner, what is that actually any of the thinking mind who is either doing business or is associated directly indirectly to support the business should do? And that's where this line that you can see on the screen, let's get back to basics. It's time to go back and start seeing every variable of my business. So before we talk about what basics, this is a dense topic, certainly takes multiple sessions in a class. and we will try to cover in 1 hour. So I will be touching upon some very important areas, and we will relate it with some live examples. So you feel free to put questions after every slide. I'll give you an opportunity to put some questions on that slide. So be ready, and based on the discussion of the slide or the content, do put the questions. Okay, so I think a few of the people in the chat are saying there is no audio or video and there is no PPT. So, gentlemen, the people who are not being able to see the video, audio, or PPT, may I request you to check your pop-up blockers? Maybe they are blocking your screen. And you may want to connect on Chrome. Also, it is live on Facebook. So if anybody is there on Facebook, you can connect there as well. Okay, so few people are saying that the audio is coming up fine now. Okay, so I have a few questions from Dr. Pramod, Dr. Farooq, and Ashish. So India, a state of resilience economic condition, how to save the low income generation entrepreneurs from financial losses rather to make their living during pandemic. What is impact on microfinance institutions? And Dr. Vijaya Lakshmi, she says, do you think rural entrepreneurship help people to sustain during this COVID to contribute and stabilize the economic growth? Very good questions. And Mr. Anurag says how COVID will going to affect the secondary sector, which already has less share in GDP. Okay, so I think these questions are very relevant, very pertinent, and maybe I will take 2 minutes to answer few of these. They may not be directly touching the entrepreneurship zone, but largely the economic fabric of the country. However, very brief, I would throw some light on this. Are we in a stress economic situation? Yes. How to save the low income generation entrepreneurs. So the slide that we will be talking through, that will let you know that how either low income or high income, unfortunately, the new normal is everybody is at zero. They can just have money, but the ideas which worked earlier may not work now. So we will touch upon as how anyone, whether low income entrepreneurs or high income entrepreneurs, will have to look at things differently. So we will touch upon those basics. Impact on microfinance institutions. I think if it is a government supported microfinance institution, this will be an important time wherein there will be stimulus which will be injected into the country, and the principle of a stimulus, unlike many of us may feel, is not great but is not correct on the principle of economics. When a stimulus is given, then it creates a multiplier effect in the economy, and it is as good as, think about it, the microfinance is given a mandate for a stimulus of, let's take an easy number, let's say 100 rupees to some or the other farmer. That farmer takes that 100 rupees and goes back to buy the seeds and the raw material at 20 rupee. So that 100 rupee now starts moving in the economy. That 20 rupee when the raw material vendor gets, and then think about that raw material vendor would be getting from 10 different people. So that person has capital. So that person goes to the other manufacturer to take her or his needs, and therefore the economy moves. So that's the power of a stimulus, that what we saw as 100 is not 100, but it actually starts bringing a multiplier effect in the economy. So this will be very important time for microfinance institution, that which is government led, that how they participate in this journey. For people who are trying to incubate microfinance institution, things will be relatively different, because it will not be just wait and watch in the economy. They will have to go out in the field to understand where they want to invest. So it's a green field at this point in time, one of the most important field. And rural entrepreneurship, Dr. Vijaya Lakshmi asks, uh, rural entrepreneurship is very different than the urban entrepreneurship. And there has been lots of work that has been done in the past. I am not sure how many of you would be aware about ITC Chaupal initiative, the way the rural economics work, the way the rural consumerism works, and how the social fabric plays a very critical role in whole sales and promotion techniques. So rural entrepreneurship is always evergreen. It will come to light today, but it's difficult. So if rural entrepreneurship takes another level of growth at this juncture, it will not be surprising. There is lots of dynamism in rural India. Unfortunately, sitting in urban places, we may or may not have view on that. But as per literature, um there's lots that has taken up in rural India, and there are many different kind of entrepreneurships, from services to agriculture. Both have got incubated. So I think at this juncture it will be very interesting to see, and it will not be surprising at all if rural entrepreneurship picks up. Even at this time, many of you in urban cities, at this lockdown, you would have witnessed, in the absence of vegetable vendor not coming to home or a fruit vendor not coming to home, there is a consortium of people who are coming from rural India and trying to sell their essentials in certain cohort, which could be a large community, large apartment. So I think they are already thinking, and I'll be very happy to see if it takes a different leap at this juncture, taking advantage of this crisis. So I think these are some few facts, few interesting situations. Um, so let's dive deep into the PPT, and then again I'll come back to the questions. Sounds like a plan? And I'll keep good handsome 15 minutes to pick up all questions as well. And I have kept the slides to be as less as possible. So let's move on to the first area. So the foremost thing, if at this juncture, if you are the person who is taking a decision or working towards as how you need to convert the crisis into opportunity. So I think the first thing for any entrepreneur or wannabe entrepreneur will be, or even working professional, will be to self-evaluate. Where do you fit in? And this is a scientific curve wherein 5 levels are described here. And this is not designation, by the way. This is about a person attribute. So, okay, so somebody was saying that PPT is not visible. Hopefully, PPT is visible now. Okay, so coming back to the deck here, so I was saying that this is not designation, this is about who you are. And on a very quick note, if you can see highly capable individual, somebody who is skilled, who can do work as IC, who has knowledge, but then maybe the 360-degree view is not there completely. Second is contributing uh, manager or contributing team member, which means that you possess all the skills, you apply all the skills, but at the same time you can take load of grooming the other individuals. Third is the competence or the kind of competent manager that as an individual you would be. In this, you are expected to know that why you are doing few things. Do you have a larger view of the problem that you are solving, or you just have a component level view? If you have a component level view, then you slip down to level 2. If you have a larger level view, though you are working on a component, you are at level 3. And level 4 is wherein business and society comes together, and you actually know that how your finances, how the business, how the government, and how your product, including the competition, and if you all remember the Porter's 5 forces, how they play. If you can think those variables and then plan your product and therefore the market, then you are at level 4, you are effective. And level 5 is executive, wherein you are not driven by the situations around, but you are so emotionally stable that you have a will to convert a crisis to opportunity. So somewhere at this time, if you are at, you have to groom yourself to between 4 or 5 if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, and many are doing that. It will not be very surprising that many companies may go through a rough phase, but at the same time many companies will come up in flying colors, and it is not because of companies, it is because of the leadership, it is because of the people who would be driving the show. So it's a very important slide. It's a self-evaluation slide. We all need to retrospect at this time at which level we are and how can we reach very quickly between 3 to 5, the higher side of 3, and somewhere fall in 4, can be at 5, great. And I think academics could be one of the ways, and putting the experience to academics will help you reach there faster. So this is where it all starts. And every entrepreneur in the country today and globally, they are reflecting back. They are actually trying to see what variables are missing, either within themselves or outside. So if you are somebody who is trying to raise money, trying to be in the market relevant, time to retrospect. Moving on to the next one, external analysis, and this is very crucial. Let's understand what external analysis means. So this framework is called as PESTEL, and it's a very relevant practical framework. And if you will see the full form of PESTEL, you can make it out. And at current situation, it is highly relevant. So external environment means that as an entrepreneur, are you studying your macro environment, and which is something which is not within your company, which is happening outside. So one is political, and P is political. Political currently is not too prevalent. However, there are administrative decisions like lockdown, controlled controlled mobilization. So such kind of things will come into political gambit. Uh, Second is E, if you see, it is economic. So we discussed briefly how economic pressure is there, which means that what's the liquidity situation, how much of money is there in consumer hand, is it that uh, even if there is money in consumer hand, are they willing to shell it out? So that is what the economic conditions primarily talks about. Uh, S is socio-cultural. So, it's very interesting. There were different definitions before COVID, but today, social distancing, that will become a socio-cultural aspect. So, how your business either gets benefited or impacted because of that socio-cultural aspect. So, that is something to simulate. Then T is technology. Now, if you are not riding on technology wave, then your cycle time may go up. And when I say technology, it is not just software. If you are in manufacturing, then which kind of technology that you are using? If you are in software, then but obvious, are you changing your technological gambit or not? And if you are in medicine, how are you leveraging technology to make yourself more relevant? So it has lots of those nuances, but at the same time, what it says is that since you are assessing external technology trends, so how aware are you? And if I may say so, almost every college and school on the earth has gone online. Why? And it is because when the PESTEL analysis is being done, everybody realized that it's time to leverage technology if we do not have to impact our business. And the business is keeping schedule, keeping students engaged, keep the learning flowing. So that's a relevant and live example of technology in external environment analysis. Ecological, you would be seeing, and I think this will be a great time for the distilled water business guys, wherein because of the earth being at halt, many of the reservoirs have automatically started showing improvements. uh, Many of the businesses who were into pollution, making the country pollution free, they will have a pressure because in the current situation already there is an improvement in the environment that has started happening. So ecological has that nuance, if you have to understand. And legal always has been there, but if I have to talk about in today's parlance, then think about uh, what product you are selling and what's the legality around it. And if you remember, recently, as per the government directives, sanitizers at 50 ml can be sold only max at 25 rupees. And now the manufacturers who whose cost of manufacturing is more than 25 for a sanitizer for 50 ml, they will undergo a pressure and they will have to see how to innovate. So that's the understanding of legal. But now you know that how you do the analysis. So as an entrepreneur or wannabe entrepreneur, even working professionals who are at decision making bodies, they will have to start looking at it differently. So I can see few chats here. It was largely about PPT and volumes. So hope things are fine. Okay, so I think I'll take a pause on this slide. If anyone has any question, I can take it up quickly. Maybe on the chat you can put your question. How a tour planning company, okay. So I think a tour planning company will have to, there is a question on tour planning company. Online vegetable supply chain. Okay, so we will take up this question. I think Bobby and uh, Priya, Professor Dinesh, uh, he has a question on educational institution switching over to online due to large reach than usual system. Okay, so it was a comment. Pankaj has a question on tour planning company. So hold these questions. I think few of the slides coming up will be relevant as how to look at these. But it's very important for Pankaj and many others who are seeing a pressure in their business to go back to drawing board and do a PESTEL analysis. No facts. Uh, don't be in assumption, because unfortunately, what you are seeing today are facts, and knowing facts will help you start diving deep better. So step one, PESTEL analysis, even for tourism. Second, let's see what the other slide is, internal analysis. Now, let's say when you have uh, a tourism business and you have done a PESTEL analysis, you cannot support a tourism packages today with respect to selling any tour packages, especially when the airline, train, by road, etc., everything is at the bottom. Uh, what is pertinent? What can you do? And I think at this juncture, one of the questions that all of us have to ask, question number one, is sustainability. So when I do PESTEL analysis, where all can I see my sustainability? Growth, if you can clock, that is great. But is growth the charter at this juncture? Maybe no. And I may want to first target at sustenance. And if I get a sustenance, then only I'll try to have growth after that. So that's how I see. And PESTEL analysis gives me that gap analysis. And then I come to internal analysis, which is, if you see, if all my external environment are playing tricks, then what is inside my firm? Which core competencies do I have? This is very relevant for series A, B, or C startups, because suddenly everybody will have to change the plan. And in order to change the plan, which is very easy on paper, but then how will we execute? And therefore, you start seeing the capabilities. What capabilities have you developed? And that is why in good times several companies invest in R&D, and the reason is that they keep building capabilities which can actually be a differentiator or can help at the time of need, and today's time of need. So that is where the inner circle is. Then it's strategic group. You will have partners, you will have people with whom you are doing business. So for an example, tour and travel, they have partnership with airlines, they have partnership with the outside country tour and travel delegates. uh, uh, so kind of how are you seeing it today? Because everybody would be in pressure. Is it that you are okay to lower your margins? Is it that you will pass on certain of the monetary benefits to them? Is it that you can talk to them to understand if there can be better synergy, if you both handshake at this hour rather than compete? So that's where that strategic group viewpoint comes. And then is industry, which means that if you are into a specific industry, so let's again, since we are building on tourism and travel, so this industry, how is it seeing? So if the industry is at a decline, then embrace that decline and do assessment that till what level sustainability can come in, which means that what, after what level your sustainability quotient can come in trouble, and therefore start reaching out to see if you can have partnership, more reach, to see if there is any specific thing that you can do. So it's more like one has to reach out for gap analysis, seeing the external and internal forces. So that's very crucial for an entrepreneur or wannabe entrepreneur at this juncture. In fact, for a sustained company as well. interesting. You may be into a business of tourism, but then if the environment is not allowing you to do that, then what do you do? And that is where this analysis comes. Very crucial, very important. You need to understand this 2 by 2 blocker. And if you see this, cost leadership is where you sell the things cheapest. Differentiation is wherein your product is a little bit different than every other product in the market. So let's take some example. Cost leadership in automobile sector, maybe we can arguably say Maruti 800 cars, right? So it's a car, it certainly solves the purpose, and at this hour it can enjoy the benefit wherein the people with need, they can actually see that Maruti 800 is better than maybe some high-end cars. So that's where the cost leadership comes. Differentiation could be where, let's say, Maggi noodles. Every other noodle may not be what you may crave for, and you may say that if I want to have a noodle, I want to have a Maggi noodle. So that is where the differentiation comes, right? Focused cost leadership. So focused cost leadership is wherein you have a higher cost, but you are the only one in the market. So for an example, let's say the Mont Blanc pen. So you have Reynolds pen as well, but then you have Mont Blanc. So the market of Mont Blanc may remain as is because the people who want to use Mont Blanc pen will still use Mont Blanc pen, and that is your focused cost leadership. And then focused differentiation. Here let's take the example of between Honda City car and BMW. So focus differentiation is BMW will tell you, hey, I am costly, but I give you 10 things which nobody will give you. So that is focused differentiation. So that is where this 2 by 2 matrix comes. So where is your business? Are you in cost? Are you in differentiation? Are you in a focused cost, or are you in a focused differentiation? If you are nowhere, time to rethink. I know a company which used to sell beauty products, and at this hour, when beauty product is a luxury, that brand pivoted to become personal care, and that is a startup that started about 7 months back. It is growing at 6x speed. It is incubated by very sharp folks like you. They are IIM-A grads, and it was very surprising that they were growing, and before pandemic strike they reached out and said that I envision that we will not fit in anywhere of these at this juncture because I don't have that much money, but I want to survive and I want to grow. And then they pivoted to add another portfolio, which is personal care. And in personal care, hand wash, sanitizer, masks, all these come in. Now you see that that has become a focused differentiation. So they were out of this 2 by 2 bracket, and suddenly by changing their game, they actually have come into this 2 by 2 bracket. And seeing the PESTEL analysis, they realized that it's time to change. And that is where my advice to Mr. Pankaj in tourism business would be that retrospect and see that if PESTEL analysis is not accommodating you, then how can you accommodate yourself, right? So that is where the value of this situation analysis is. Moving on to the next one. This is very critical. How to read this? So the top layer green is your industry, and the below layer is you, which is your firm. So let's take that example. So gorge.co.in, maybe you can open the site if you are there and see they are into beauty and personal care. So the firm effect is they want to sell into this space. Their value proposition is um, authenticity, means no marketplace. I will only sell authentic products because personal care products today has to be authentic. You cannot buy any mask or any sanitizer. Cost position, they are flexible here because the demand is more than supply. And business as a strategy, they have found a differentiation. So this is how you run this matrix. And on the top, industry says it's a lockdown. It says only essential commodity can be sold. Industry attractiveness is that everybody is into pressure. Uh, Everybody has come to halt. There is no pressure from Amazon or Flipkart because they also have to sell only essential commodity. So it's a sweet spot. And within industry, strategic groups, which is your partnership, supply chain, are they aligned with you? So when you read both, you actually derive a competitive advantage. And in this case, if you are seeing the site, let me repeat this for you, gorge.co.in. If you see that site, you will see that they have pivoted to sell the personal care at a very right price, which is not beyond the reach of consumer, giving a competition to the industry because everybody has come to ground zero. Nobody can play the muscle power of money. Everybody has to sell essential commodities by strengthening the partnership with all its brands and therefore clocking growth. So that is how you repivot yourself to know your competitive advantage. So this is how you read this slide. So any entrepreneur will have to simulate this. Take your product, go through this life cycle, see if you are gaining your competitive advantage, right? Okay, this is when you know. So let's do a quick recap. You have known yourself as a leader. You have to be at the high notch of 3 or within 4. You know your external environment. You know your lockdown. You know till when. You know mobility is constrained. Then you have reflected back in the inner organization. You know what kind of capability you have. Can you sustain? If it is yes, great. If it is no, you have to think and change. Then you come to, when you know your organization, your product, you start looking at 2x2 metrics, which says what's your positioning at this time. If you do not have a cost or differentiation with you and market is not allowing, change yourself. And if market is allowing, then come to the slide which I talked about, competitive advantage, and execute. So this is where we have covered till now. Hope all the entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs, or the business people are with me. And this slide is Porter's 5 forces. This is mostly wherein your sustainability aspect comes. You remember I talked to Pankaj saying that in tourism, he has to see sustainability today. And that sustainability, what it means is, if you see the competitive forces today, threat of entry, when you enter the market, can somebody uh, come and grab you? Or you can have a segue. So today, it's difficult not to have a segue if you are solving real problems, because these problems are unique. Nobody saw this before December. So you actually are into a blue ocean. Blue ocean means a market which is not tapped. Second is power of supplier. So this is not seller's market. This is actually consumer's market. So the power of suppliers will come down, wherein everybody wants to sell, but nobody wants to buy. So how will you leverage this? Power of buyers, it has gone up. If you will go to a shop to buy something today, they will be delighted. So how are you utilizing this power? Threat of substitute, it has gone up. You will see that many non-brand people also would be selling sanitizer. So if you are having a product which is highly needed, and you still are in a positive side of the first three powers, you will have to be cautious of threat of substitute. So that is how you read threat of substitute. And then the last one is rivalry among existing competitors. But obvious, that will always be there. Why? Because you remember I said everybody wants to sustain. So whether good times or not good times, you will have to deal with competition. Will you have enough competition today? Yes, because it is not just one person is thinking on earth. Every right person is thinking for survival. So therefore you certainly will have competition. You cannot keep your eye off. So this is how you read Porter's 5 forces, and that is how you simulate your product if you have gone through all the stages that I talked about, and therefore see the relativity as where you fit in. That's where the decision to putting money comes in. And when we talk about money, unit economics is the key. Unit economics means that if you are having an employee, then you take the aggregation of phone bill, real estate charge, the coffee and water, or some perks, and then when you sell a product, taking all the cost, what is that per unit cost? So you need to be very clear with your per unit cost. Now, per unit cost will undergo pressure at this time. Why? Because sales are not happening. So your manufacturing or anything that you are trying to sell, your inventory life is more. So what will you do? So let's say if you are in automobile sector, then you do not deal with economics of scale in good times. You are dealing with usability. Today is the need to actually understand economics of scale. Sell more. Try having an attribute in your product which can be bought more by more people, right? And that is where you see this curve, that if you are too costly, then your sales are lesser. But if you actually reduce your cost, your sale increases. When your sale increases, your cost per unit comes down, and then your output increases. So that is how you actually turn the curve. So any business you are into, you need to think economics of scale. Economics of scale is not just for internet companies. Even if you are in manufacturing, even if you are in medicine, even if you are in any other business, you have to start thinking very hard about your scale. You cannot afford to just sell what you are selling. Reason, demand is less. Therefore, you may have to reduce your prices. You will have to optimize your prices. And if you are optimizing your prices, you want more units to be sold. Therefore, you have to reach out more wider. So that is where this slide comes in. And that is how you think when you are thinking about your product. And this is your product life cycle. Any product in your startup or growth goes through these 5 phases. Introduction, which is like a seed startup. Growth, wherein you have started seeing some people coming in with very contained marketing. shakeout is wherein now you do not have to rely on marketing per se, but you pretty much have started seeing people buying from you pretty frequently. Maturity is when you will see that you will start getting pressure to innovate, and if you not, somebody else would have come to the market. And this can be a classic case of Nokia, right? And if you are not thinking about your innovation in this stage, then what happened to Nokia, everyone knows. So that is how you read this. And this is very relevant for startup, because you will see these curves playing lots of dynamism in your business. Now I will bring some attention to startups here. That graph which I showed you was primarily to understand how selling happens, why a product takes certain time to get sold. But now understand from entrepreneur's life today. Actually, this is where you are at risk. What is this? you have started you have started selling with few. Now COVID strikes, your sales have come down, your cost has gone up, your innovation has come down, your execution rigor has come down. Now this is the break, which is known as chasm, which means you may die. And that is what the pitfall any entrepreneur will have to see today. They do not fall into this trap. And that is why you remember I talked about sustainability. I talked when Pankaj said that what to do in tourism. Actually, Pankaj, you are facing this, the chasm. Either you have to think differently, or gap analysis in PESTEL environment to know if you can even sell something. If not, whatever money that you have made till now, change your business model. Nobody has said that you need to keep doing what you thought. Everybody has said change with market. If at least you need to be sustainable. So this is where this piece comes in. You need to be very cautious, very truthful with yourself. Are you falling into this? Yes, brick and mortar businesses are falling into this. Many businesses which were into consumer space, they may feel the pressure. Many businesses which were into intercurrency state may face the challenge. Many businesses which did not have technology leveragement, digital leveragement, let's say payment, if they do not have a digital a fabric, they will face this situation. So we need to come out of this trap, is what an entrepreneur has to watch out for. Will everybody will be able to come out of it? No. In order to come out of it, what you need to do? You need to think hard. Gap analysis or change. That's the only two models that you can apply. So that is how I wanted to bring your attention to this. And in the interest of time, I'll run a little bit fast. This I wanted to explain you. The whole mobile industry. There was a mobile iridium. It fell through chasm here itself. Then another one was Trio. It could not make it. BlackBerry handsomely made it, but somewhere it fell into the chasm here. And then Galaxy, Samsung came in, overtook BlackBerry, and iPhone, it started overtaking, and now they are enjoying because they do not have to do much, and therefore they are enjoying the market. But will they not come through this stage? They will. If they will not take the PESTEL analysis today, I don't think so that the market sentiments are that globally anybody will be able to afford $1,000 phone at this situation. It will be limited audience now. So that's how you iterate your product and consumerism. So this is what I wanted to bring your light to. And Competition, but obvious, you have to understand. If you can see, are you in a perfect competition? Many small players, many consumers, everybody buys from everyone, so you are safe. So when market opens, if you are into beauty industry, you are into education industry, you are into medical industry, you are into vegetable industry, you are safe. There are many players, there are many consumers. You just need to keep doing to keep sales on. uh, Monopolistic, wherein there are many firms like phone industry, or let's say in beauty industry, let's say lipstick, or hair gel. You will have many players, many as in people who are established, and uh, we all will buy from all of them. So that is how you see it. So you are relatively safe. Oligopoly, just couple of them exist, so they are the safer. Monopoly, only I exist. WhatsApp, there is no other channel than WhatsApp people tend to use today. So WhatsApp is safe. It's going nowhere, irrespective of this situation. So that is how you read this. Now put your business and product into this, and you will know where you fall in, and therefore the plan. So that is how you read this in the practical lenses. Now, what is innovation? This is very interesting. Innovation has a specific definition, and I think it's very important to understand for an entrepreneur what is innovation. Innovation, in true sense, is which brings your cost down and which brings consumer utility up. At this time, you need to be very focused on definition of innovation. Then only you can create value, then only you can sell your product, then only you can sustain. So for an example, let's take the example of Gorge. So gorge.co.in, a 7 months old startup, they were selling beauty products, brands only, high end, quality. But when nobody is buying, what to innovate now? So I changed to personal care. When I changed to personal care, then I talked to partners that bring my cost down, because I want to give benefit to consumer, get my supply chain into order. I don't want to work with one supply chain. I want five now, because anyone can be a point of failure for me. I don't want my marketing cost to be on beauty products now. I want it to be on personal care. Why? Because consumers need it. That is how you innovate. So innovation does not only mean patent, copyrights, or trademarks. It also means that in your existing setup, how you are bringing your cost down and consumer benefit up. If you have novelty in your idea, which is useful and implementable, then it is innovation. So this breaks the myth that if you can patent, then only you are an innovator. No. If you can join the variables in a novel way, which is useful for a consumer and is implementable, you are an innovator. So entrepreneurs, this definition can give you some strength, because you certainly have opportunity to innovate. And if you have understood this, this is the stage. You will have idea, you will think through differently, you will try to see how to reduce variables. When you are doing this, unfortunately, some or the other competition would be imitating you. So don't get worried. That is normal. You remember I showed you a slide that market has a coexistence for many players because there are many consumers. So don't get worried by this fourth step if you are doing the first three right. So that is the strength that an entrepreneur who can be an innovator and is okay somebody is copying. And therefore, few of these 2 by 2 metrics of innovation, but this will not be too relevant for now, so I'll take it a pause in interest of time. Um, very quick, maybe 2 minutes, I will delve into how to innovate. Open up, ask partners, ask employees, ask everyone around, ask consumer. That is known as open innovation. So for entrepreneurs, it's time to look above and beyond. And that is where your bias for action comes, which is you actually are taking details from everyone, bottom up, top down, uh, everyone, market. And that's why you see how realized product comes out much better. So that's what I wanted to draw your attention. Coming to the last slide, which is raising capital. Everyone wants to raise money. You need to have 7 by design. Are you a leader? You saw the slide. Do you have a market fit of the product? Have you assessed your market by PESTEL analysis? Have you seen consumerism with your product and market? Do you have right partnerships? Are you local or global? And is your unit of economics right? This is your 7 by design. And when you are doing this, many things come into play, which is your metrics, numbers, finance, valuations, your org design, your inventory, your legal holds, your trademarks, your agreements. So this is just a byproduct if you have these 7 things into place. So that is how entrepreneurs need to think through at this time. If I have to wrap up this session, I would go with this very beautiful adage which says that price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and the determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. So COVID is not a crisis, it's a viewpoint. If you have a viewpoint to turn crisis into opportunity, then you are in a sweet spot even today. So that is my message to all the entrepreneurs. And it was fantastic talking to all of you. I could see plethora of questions coming in, and unfortunately, I do not have much time left. But I think on the Facebook page of McGraw Hill, on various other social channels of McGraw Hill, I would request all you guys to put your thoughts, questions. We will try and see if we can answer to you from those forums. Um, on that note, before I wrap up, I think question is certificate will be issued. I think answer is yes. Maybe somebody from McGraw Hill can answer. But I want to draw your attention on one very important thing, which is McGraw Hill has been pioneer in the education industry. We all have grown up reading books of McGraw Hill. This is the time to go back to academics. They have some amazing set of books on entrepreneurship, dealing with crisis, and how the basics of maths needs to be intact. Visit the site. They have an amazing digital assets. Time to go back, pick your book, and a special thanks to McGraw Hill for being with us for more than multiple decades now. And thanks to all of you. It was a fantastic cohort. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today. Lots of interesting questions. Unfortunately, I could not answer to all, but hope you got some message out of this particular conversation today. So have a great day. Stay safe. Thank you.